Yes. Morning, morning. I'm off work today. February 15th, day after Valentine's Day. I dodged it like that. I skipped and dodged the bullet with the wife. I was stuck at work. Yeah. How's everyone doing? Bing bong bing. So dumb. Yeah. Alright. See, camera's a little bit better, you know? A little bit more better quality. Why did they cancel my VA appointment? Let's see. Why? Did they try to call me? Did I just didn't call maybe? Oh, yeah, let's see. No, that's... It says hello. Get the party. Word. Bow, bow, bow. Oof, oof. Feel like I need to be at a club. What was I gonna look up? City of Dystopia. Shaw. Yeah. Shaw. Oh, what plugins do we got? Image Magic, Ultimate Members. Become a supporter. Alright, what's a supporter? $30. Valid for 1 year. Hit the party, hit the party. Alright, let's see. Support, 9% of the same. Debating. We'll see. We'll see. Why can't I join that in my band? Yeah, fuck it. Bucket. Alright, come through. Oh, they switched the mode. Initial review, now they're evidence gathering. Alright. What did you send me? Status detail, development letter, what? We should probably get into some Halo for a little bit. I got a doctor's appointment in a bit. But, yeah, it's Zoom. Hero. Let's see. What do we want to watch? What do we want to do? Let's go over our tickety talks. Ooh, cameras. Let's do. You know what? I want to start getting back into my camera. Ooh, what's up, girl? What you got for me, girl? Force in Korea. Alright, let's get rid of TikTok. I want video schoolonline.com. Then get back into photography. There you go. Start back with the basics. Got to get back to the basics. Let's see. Oh, see, like my top bar and my recent biddies and titties need to be extended. There we go. Much better. Okay, let's make me a little bit smaller. I don't need to be that. There we go. All right, cool. That's what I'm talking about. All right, let's look at some videos. I need to go through. I need to start over again, you know? From the basics. What is exposure? I've already. I gotta go back. Let's do it.
Welcome to this new section of the Photography Masterclass. In this section, you're going to learn all about exposure, what it is, how to use your camera to properly expose, and even some advanced exposure concepts. First, what is exposure? Photography exposure is basically how bright or dark your image is. We call a photo that is too dark underexposed. A photo that is too bright is overexposed. A photo where your subject is not too dark and not too bright, but it looks natural, is properly exposed. And your subject could be anything from a person to a mountain in the distance. Depending on your photo's composition and your situation, not everything will be properly exposed. Sometimes your background will be too bright, or sometimes one side of your photo will be too dark. The important thing we want you to remember with proper exposure is that it's partly up to you as the artist. You may want your photo to be a little dark or to be a little bright. That can create some interesting and creative shots. As a beginner, it's good to learn how to properly expose so that the viewer can easily see what's in your photo. Now, how do we change our camera settings to expose properly? This is done with a few key settings: aperture, shutter speed, and ISO. With most DSLR, mirrorless, and point-and-shoot cameras, and even mobile phones, you'll be able to adjust these settings manually. And that's what this course is all about: dropping auto and understanding how to photograph with your manual settings. Even if you use auto settings in the future, which is sometimes a good idea, knowing how your camera works is so important to understanding how to take great photos. These three settings, aperture, shutter speed, and ISO, make up what's called the exposure triangle. Each setting can make your photo brighter or darker, and each setting also affects different aspects of your photo, like the depth of field and motion blur, things we'll cover in future lessons. There's also one other thing that dramatically changes how bright or dark our photos might be. Can you guess what that is? Lighting. Photographing in bright sunlight is a lot different than photographing a candlelit scene. Properly exposing is a balance of the settings in the exposure triangle and understanding how light works. So let's get started with aperture. In this lesson, you'll learn what aperture is and how it affects exposure. aperture is the first part of the exposure triangle and the first part of your camera that controls how much light enters and is captured. Inside your lens is a hole. This hole can go bigger and smaller. And this is the aperture, which is sometimes called the iris, similar to the iris of the pupil of your eye. Now, if
What
you
up,
make
Pony?
the aperture larger, do you think
What's going
more
on?
light is let in or less light? That one is easy. More light is let in when the
Yeah.
hole is bigger. This means that increasing
I
the
started
size
this
of your aperture
class a
will
long
make
time
your
ago,
image
and I
brighter.
started.
Decreasing
I'm retaking
will
it all
make
over again,
darker.
but
So when you are in a
From the
darker
basics.
location, like shooting inside
I
a
want to get
building,
back into
you
it.
might want to increase the size of your aperture
I have like
to
my
expose
camera,
properly.
but
Think about
like all
what
the photos
happens
you
to
see
your
on like
eye when you turn off the
raywallion.com is
lights.
what I was getting
Your
into in my
pupils
Instagram,
gets
and
really big.
then COVID hit, and I
Let in
stopped.
more
And
light so that you can see.
feeling the
Go
urge
outside
to
in the bright
do it
sun,
again.
Your pupil will get smaller. To
Some
let
new
in less
interest
light.
to hold me
So
over for a
depending on your
few
situation,
minutes.
you can have a perfectly exposed image with different aperture sizes. How do we adjust our aperture?
So I was looking at basically I have my GI Bill that I used for medic school, and I never really basically used it since. And I was like, oh, I still got 30 months of it. Might as well freaking use it, right? And because it's money that's sitting there, because I can get paid monthly. They give me if I went to school in person, give me $2,000 a month, and if I do it online, it's $1,000 a month of housing money. I was like, oh, I should take take 3 courses online and start collecting that money before it expires. Well, and I was like, okay, what do I want to do? I was like, I can take a computer class, programming class, do something major in, and I was like, I don't want to get back into computer programming. It'd be great, but I'm going to do something where it's like interesting. I mean, it'd be great for 5M and other stuff, but I was like, yeah. I was like, but then there's photography that I, started that I'm like, it was as a hobby. I'm like, yeah, but if I can get into it professionally or on the side, like a side job, and do that, like that'd be great. So I went ahead and was looking at it. I'm like, oh, I can they have a degree in photography. I was looking at digital photography. It'd be great to learn how to take proper photos, composures, things like that, and get a degree with that. Be able to, and in the course, part of the degree for bachelor's, I do a lot of post editing using Lightroom, stuff like that. So I was like, get some money from the GI Bill, get a degree out of it. Bachelor's, it'd be 4 years, 4.5 years. I'm like, sure, why not? Give me something to use my GI Bill. I'm not going to use it in real life. I mean, I could do a side job and take photos or sell photos, take some landscaping. I was like, whatever. Anyway, the fan of my GI Bill expires next year, 2023. So I was like, oh, does that mean that I have to start my degree in my course and go to school? And as long as, and as long as I don't stop, it'll cover me for my 30 months that I have left? Or do I have to be done? And come to find out that I have to be done. So that means next year I can enroll into the bachelor's degree with this Academy of the Arts, which is out of San Francisco and accredited and all that stuff, some university there. But if I had to have started my degree like 4 years ago, if I wanted to use the full thing, so I could start it right now in theory, get accepted, use GI Bill would pay for the first year, and then I've got 3 years of $150,000 tuition that I would have to pay for the following 3 years after that. And I was like, yeah, okay, not going to happen. I'm not even doing financial aid or anything. I make too much to get financial aid. I can do a student loan. I'm like, why am I going to put myself in debt over a degree like this? So now I was like, okay, maybe I can find a certificate program for a year, undergraduate certificate program, just so I can at least collect at least 1 year of that housing. That's true. Very true. That might not be a bad idea. Take a year of classes, and I wonder if I drop out, the benefit of that or anything outside of that. I mean, but I get to take the initial 2 semesters of like 6 courses of interesting classes that I want to take some of the classes I want at the end of the thing because it's a little bit more advanced, and I think that'd be great to learn. But there's an undergraduate certificate, so I was like, okay. Then I remember, I'm like, when I first was teaching myself photography and trying to learn this stuff, I went through Udemy. And I was doing Udemy courses, $15 here, $20 here. So I went to and I still have it membership, or I still have the course because I purchased it. It's for life or whatever. But now I'm like, I should rewatch it and do the basics on Udemy. But then the people that are doing the Udemy, the courses, they have their own website, Photography Online School, or videoonlineschool.com. And they're like, oh yeah, for $15 a month, you get access to all the courses that they have, which has advanced this, Photoshop editing, Lightroom editing. I was like, oh, okay. So I'm doing a 1 month trial, and it covers the class that I already have. So I'm watching that again to get refamiliar with my camera, because I've been so out of touch over the past couple of years that I have to look. I'm like, fuck, what's an ISO? What's the lighting have to be? What's the exposure? It's like riding a bike, get back into it, but I'm trying to remember all that from the beginning. So that's what I'm doing right now, is I'm watching a class that I already did, but I want to be able to jump into the Lightroom and do post-production, because if you see, I think you've been to my personal website, or I had all my photography stuff, because all this was taken with my Nikon, and then edited into in Lightroom and stuff like that. And I want to get back into taking photos, like especially with our trip coming up to Paris again. I want to get more photos of our traveling. Like this was in Paris, and I was able to mess with the color palette and stuff like that on Lightroom to kind of make it look like a painting, even though it was a photo. But the detail on it, and it's all about your lenses too that you're taking, and how crisp and your focus on that. And so I need to read up and learn about the different lenses, so I can buy some. Because instead of the Nikon lenses are fucking expensive. You're spending like anywhere from a couple hundred all the way to thousands of dollars for good lenses, and each lens does something different, whether it's a macro up close, wide lens for wide angle, telescopic at certain ranges of millimeters. It's just complicated, like you said, but those are all expensive. Now they have knockoff lenses, which are like third-party lenses, which do the same thing. Probably quality is probably not 100% as a Nikon lens, or they're good lenses. But the Chinese version, the knockoff, and they the Asians, they like Chinese and all the Koreans and stuff like that. A lot of those tourists, they love taking photos and professional photos and stuff like that too. So especially these brands coming out of Asia, coming out of China, stuff like that, they can't be. I mean, they got to be decent, and they're way more affordable. Spending $30, $40, $50 rather than spending $100 instead of $2,000 on a really fancy lens. Because these are all like my photos I've used with that knockoff lenses. I mean, I can't imagine how good it would be with a regular lens, but something like this, I'm like, yeah. But my end goal too would be able to I want to be able to, with photography too, use it as kind of a storytelling. I don't necessarily, there's fashion photography, street photography. I think I'm more or less interested in more of like the street photography, getting candid shots, or shots like the street photography straight on the streets, and being able to tell a story with those photos, like a story like that, kind of telling the life of a Parisian storekeeper who's just kind of sitting out, and this is his work life when there's not people in the actual store. Or this might even, I don't think this is an actual employee though. This was just like a regular Parisian who's out there relaxing, getting their food, and just this is how they spend their lunch, something like that. And that's what I think I want to continue to on the side. is when I'm out and about or when we go places, travel photography, but doing more street photography, doing some landscapes, being able to capture the good, the sky and the sunsets, and like there's different techniques with the photos, and a lot of the big cool photos are like ones, especially when you got water and it reflects off the bottom of the lake, or the bottom of the river. Those are all like different types of techniques that I've learned through that website. And yeah, but the goal is to get some of the, but then doing some, trying to do some like modeling photography, or like of portraits or of actual people, doing something like that. So I kind of want to get back into that, but goal would be eventually being able to upload this portfolio, and we are now be able to sell this, put this portfolio, this picture up on one of those websites and stuff, and maybe people that want a content, like I can sell the photo to. So I don't know if as far as putting it in a painting, like, or in a picture and printing it out and selling it, but this would be cool to take this and those websites where people want to buy content, because it's got, people can always blur that out, but it's got my watermark, but be able to market to certain advertisements, or certain people that want to shop these apps that want to buy photos. So like this was over here in Iceland, the Blue Lagoon, and the water literally is really this blue, which is kind of cool. And using the flare up from the sun and things like that. So just techniques, and that's what basically I'm coming down to. And I believe I have more than that. Check out my portfolio. What do I have in my portfolio? So even, our Paris 2019. As Carolyn took the photo, she focused on everything in the background. She didn't really focus. She didn't have it set to focus on the person, but it's fine. It's still, I like the good picture there. Be able to capture certain moments. Like there's one I captured the kid on a bike with their mom. Let's see. Nikon 5300. What's up, Boomer? How you doing? But yeah, Nikon 5300. There's one photo that I liked that I took. Oh, this one. Yeah. So I thought that was a funny picture to capture, because she had the kid in the basket. She's taking a picture. Just being able to tell a story. Obviously you can see some of the photos, taking a photo, and then I took that at the zoo there. You can tell the difference. Here's me taking a picture, and then the wife, she doesn't know how to focus on this camera, because I have it on manual, not auto. So you can see how, like, the difference. Leaving for Florida for 12 days. Woo! Good. Southern Florida, or is it going to be northern Florida? Either way, it should be good by then. I know when we went, northern Florida was cold, and southern Florida was nice. You go to Paris, and they've got condoms on the street. Little dispensers throughout the streets. And they use Durex over there too. No. But yeah, see some of these photos. This is the photo. This photo I like a lot that I took, just because I was able, the skyline and the sky and the colors and stuff like that. A little bit of post editing on there to make the sky a little bit more pop, a little bit better. But taking this, and this is most of my background on my Alexa and stuff like that. But yeah, again, to capturing a story, I would have done, better focusing would have been better. I'm not sure what I focused on here. I was trying to focus on him, but he's a little blurry. But tell a story. This is some of the homeless, Disney World, yeah. We're trying to capture certain things and get better at making things focus on the fly like that. Drunk Disney's best. I heard there's a lot of alcohol, more and more now with Disney World or Epcot. You know, and that's the cool thing about Paris is like, yeah, there's so much history and art. It's cool statues, things like that. You know, how much gold is in there. Love this picture of Versailles. This is, you know, where King Louis lived and or built after he came from the little hunting lodge that they used to live in. Took Versailles and built it up, and this is like the photos. Just getting a wide lens on that. A few kids between 8 and 14. Oh, that'll be a fun time though. I'm sure they'll have fun. Iceland. This was a cool trip. Great. Iceland's a great trip for photography if you like landscape stuff, which is kind of cool. Be able to capture these photos. This up here is like on the glacier, the caps up there. It was closed to the public or closed to the thing, but the guy that I was with gave us a tour. He went to medic school around the same school I went to for paramedic school, and he's from Iceland, and that's where he lives. So when I went up there, he gave me a full local tour with his little vehicle. It was like took us places that only locals go, which was a really cool tour. Gas was so expensive over there, but he paid for all. Great hospitality. There it is. That's the vehicle that we had. And we're like, you know, I see a lot of these snorkels on, you know, people here in the U.S. and they never do anything with it. They just do it to make it like look cool and stuff like that. But this guy actually uses it to ford the river. There you go. Because he like straight up drove through that and had the water up to here at one point. So anyways, that's why I'm trying to get back into with my photography. This is my very first photos with the camera when I first got the camera. Add the little blueberry tint for my post editing. And my first hike with Walter. Used my GoPro and the new camera as well. Try to able to get a good view of the bridge near the house. But yeah, that's my attempt at photography. Trying to capture stuff. Nice. Yeah, like I was telling Pony, I was like, I have my GI Bill. I was trying to go ahead and use my GI Bill to get a bachelor's in photography, and so I can learn, you know, start from the beginning and learn and get the whole digital photography and photography in general. Learn composition, stuff like that, but my GI Bill expires next year, and so I can't get a bachelor's in it. So I was like, you know, I got my GI Bill that I sitting here wasting that I need to use to get $1,000 a month, you know, but it expires next year, so I won't be able to actually get. I'll just film. Yeah, I took like a film class in like high school where I had to like use the old cameras and then make my own camera out of like a shoebox and develop it with actual film, and did that in high school. But I want to learn. I think if I do for I want to learn be able to use the digital camera or use my DSLR and do a lot of learn the post editing as well. I want to be able to. I want to learn the framework, the composition, having a good eye, and then using the camera to focus and using manual. Increasing aperture and messing with your ISO for lighting, and things like that. I want to learn about all that, and then also be able to learn, about posing and portraits and stuff like that. But then also on top of that, the post editing on Lightroom, Photoshop, things like that is something I'd love to learn. And I figure, learn that and use my GI Bill. But my GI Bill is expiring, so I can't do that. So and expires next year, so I can get a year's worth. I'm looking to a undergraduate digital photography course. See if I can do that and still get my 1,000. In the meantime, I have this subscribed to this video school online, and they do classes, and that's where Pony jumped in when I was watching this. Is just going over the basics of photography, and then because I've already done this class, but then they also have tons of classes that I could tons of classes that I can jump into, which is great. I've already paid it's like a $15 a month, but I don't get to use my GI Bill to get my money, because it's just my GI Bill is just going to waste, and that's free money that's sitting there that I should be collecting or not, but I can't use it on this. But this is definitely the same, not the same, but I'll be able to learn. There's a lot of courses based off of that I can use just to teach myself. If nothing else, I've got all this that I'm gonna go watch instead of to teach myself the photography stuff. You had a YouTube master class, a class on Adobe Lightroom Classics, teach you how to use all that. After Effects, they have different, you can go through photography, just photography only, and watch these classes kind of thing, which would be cool. Landscape photo editing. Learning all this, I think that'll be YouTube bounty hunters. Yeah, we should totally go. Some Patty Mayo. Be fucking mustard and ketchup bounty hunters. So, where do we leave off on? Let's do it.
Welcome to this new section of the Photography Masterclass. In this section, you're going to learn all about exposure, what it is, how to use your camera to properly expose, and even some advanced exposure concepts.
I don't remember
First,
where I was.
What is exposure?
But we'll start over again.
Photography exposure is basically how bright or dark your image is. Yes. We call a photo that is too dark underexposed. A photo that is too bright is overexposed. A photo where your subject is not too dark and not too bright, but it looks natural, is properly exposed. And your subject could be anything from...
Hey Google, how many days until May 11th?
Depending on your photo's composition and your situation, not everything will be properly exposed. Sometimes your background will be too bright, or sometimes one side of your photo will be too dark. The important thing we want you to remember with proper exposure is that it's partly up to you as the artist. You may want your photo to be a little dark or to be a little bright. That can create some interesting and creative shots. As a beginner, it's good to learn how to properly expose so that the viewer can easily see what's in your photo. Now, how do we change our camera settings to expose properly? This is done with a few key settings: aperture, shutter speed, and ISO. With most DSLR, mirrorless, and point-and-shoot cameras, and even mobile phones, you'll be able to adjust these settings manually. And that's what this course is all about: dropping auto and understanding how to photograph with your manual settings. Even if you use auto settings in the future, which is sometimes a good idea, knowing how your camera works is so important to understanding how to take great photos. These three settings, aperture, shutter speed, and ISO, make up what's called the exposure triangle. Each setting can make your photo brighter or darker, and each setting also affects different aspects of your photo, like the depth of field and motion blur, things we'll cover in future lessons. There's also one other thing that dramatically changes how bright or dark our photos might be. Can you guess what that is? Lighting. Photographing in bright sunlight is a lot different than photographing a candlelit scene. Properly exposing is a balance of the settings in the exposure triangle and understanding how light works. So let's get started with aperture. Aperture, an f-stop, also known as the f-number, is a method of describing the size of the aperture in each lens. This f-stop scale goes from f1 to f1.4 to f2 to f2.8 to f4 and beyond. There are two potentially confusing things about this f-stop scale though. First, the smaller the f-number, the larger the aperture.
I'm not muted. You're muted. Okay. Anyways, so, and then like on the iPhone, when you use your photo, portrait mode, and it blurs the background, forgot the name, Bukaki mode, Bukag, whatever the fuck, I can't remember, Bukaki. So yeah, it blurs the background, and that's using the aperture and the f-stop. So on your iPhone, when you go ahead and you take the photo and the background's blurry because you got that 8 feet between you, you can edit that photo and you change the f number, and that makes it either more blurry or less blurry on your iPhone, which is kind of cool. And that's, this day and age too, though, with our iPhones. Our iPhones are just as good as one of these, DSLRs, because it's got multiple lenses, it's got all that stuff, and you can do a lot with mobile photography. I mean, obviously, that camera, you have more control over what you're taking as far as changing individual settings, your lighting, your ISO, shutter speed, stuff like that. A lot of that can be changed manually and manipulated to get better in photos in a regular DSLR. But the iPhone has the same, just same power, just it's more auto and does all the work for you, which is great too.
Vice versa, the larger the f-number, the smaller the aperture. So an f2.8 is actually a larger aperture and lets in more light than an f11. Does that make sense? The other confusing thing is that not all lenses are made equally. It takes a lot of expensive engineering to make an aperture that opens up really wide to something like an f1.4 or f.
Like I have my Camlink, Elgato Camlink, to be able to like use this with the low aperture to be able to do that. My problem with this camera is I have to run through batteries because the power doesn't charge this. Doesn't let it run while it's plugged in, kind of thing, So I have to switch batteries out if I were to use this particular camera, unless I got a newer one. It would be, or I can, you can even get as long as buying the link for be able to use your iPhone as your webcam. There's software that does that, but it's a little bit of a lag, but not too much. But then be able to do that crap. Battery replacement. So what is it, like a battery that is plugged in? Or how does that, like I've got two batteries and then I have to swap them out, but then it makes for a long, so that would be cool. Because then that would be cool. You'd have to send me a link or give me a description of what it is so I can search for it and find one for my camera. That wouldn't be too bad. Because like right now, I've got this, charger. I just swap them out using a lithium-ion battery pack. That would be cool and would be a game changer. And then I can just put this on a tripod, hang it up there, and be able to. Nice. Yeah, definitely. Let's see.
f2. So if you're using a kit lens, the one that came with your camera, your aperture might not open to these wider f numbers. Similarly, if you're using a mobile phone or a point-and-shoot camera, you might not have these f number or f-stop options. Here we are outside. We've got our friend William here who's going to be playing a big part in this class. And I'm using a basic Canon T5i DSLR, similar to the DSLR cameras that many of you might be using in this class. And now I'm going to show you how changing your aperture or your f-stop will affect the exposure. And with this kit lens, which is the 18 to 55 that came with this camera, we can't even open up, meaning increase our aperture wider than 5.6, f5.6, with this lens zoomed in like so. So here I'm at 5.6, and I'm just going to go up to 6.3, 7.1, 8.0, and as you can see, as I go up in f-stop, the aperture is actually getting smaller and letting in less light. So if I go all the way up to 22 or even beyond, it's completely underexposed. And if I go the opposite way, we're opening up again, up to 10 f9.0. You can see on the screen that the f-stop number is represented by 7.1, not a fraction of
March
f
10th. I'm just trying to book my
and now we're up to 5.6, and we are generally exposed properly, but if we're still too dark, we have our other settings to get perfect exposure. How do you adjust the aperture on your camera? This will depend on the camera you're using, and we suggest checking out the camera anatomy section of this course, where we will provide resources on how to use all of the popular brands and models of cameras. Typically, there's a dial on your camera body or a button to press and toggle, which can change your aperture setting. So now let's put this all into practice. In a real-world situation, if I'm taking photos of Sam here and I want to be able to expose properly using my aperture, here's how I would do that. Right now, my aperture is set to 2.8 and it's really, really bright. So if I take that shot, it is overexposed and I would make Sam smile perhaps. So what I'm gonna do is actually close down my aperture. I'm at a f2.8. Now I'm going to go down to something like f5.0. Look here, Sam, smile. So that's how, just with the aperture, you can fix your exposure. Of course, this is all just one part of the exposure triangle. My shutter speed and ISO settings will also affect the exposure, and we'll get into those in the next two videos. Following that, we'll see how we balance all of these settings to get a perfectly exposed shot. Now I know this lesson is getting a little long, but I want to talk about one other thing with aperture. Your aperture also affects other things like depth of field, which we'll cover more in depth in the depth of field section of this course. Very briefly though, the depth of field is how much is in focus. What plane of your vision is in focus? Is the entire scene in front of you?
It's a school that wants to call about my GI Bill. Let's see. Hello.
Hey Ray, it's Andrea from Academy.
Hi, how's it going, Andrea?
I'm good. How are you?
Not too bad. Just trying to figure out this GI Bill stuff.
Come through.
Yeah.
So I saw that in one of your emails that you were saying that even though you have 30 months, you can only use 1 year.
Yeah. So basically they said that if I wanted to do the bachelor's program and have them pay the GI pay for it, that I would have had to have started like 4 years ago.
Okay. Are you considering maybe doing the associate's degree, which is a shorter program?
You said that's about 2 years, potentially. I could let me pull up your email. I know they do. Do you guys have an undergraduate like certificate, or I know we were talking about that, how they don't cover. They said they do cover the certificate. It just depends if the school is set up accredited for the GI Bill.
Yeah, I would say just if you're, I would go for a degree over a certificate because the degree is just a little bit longer and it's going to be an actual degree, heavily more than a certificate. So if that's the case, as far as like you only have like 1 year, you can decide if you want to do the associates or the bachelor's, and then kind of what we talked about yesterday. We exhaust the GI Bill first, and then you will probably have to use like FAFSA.
Yeah, the problem is grants and things like that. I would not probably qualify because I make too much, but then paying out of pocket would be kind of more than what for my expenses. So maybe an associate may be a little bit better with less out of pocket over time. I guess if that makes sense.
Overall time, yeah. Okay, what I'll do then is I'm going to switch your degree from a bachelor's to an associate's. Um, and then what I think you should do, actually, what state did you graduate high school from?
California.
Okay, and then you just have military. I have to look at your file again. I can't remember off the top of my head.
Yeah, I went.
Military.
There's not, and yeah, not too much. I requested a transcript from the VA or from the VA training, and it said I put down the academy, so it's supposed to send you guys an official transcript. I don't know who it sends it to, but it sent it to the school. Now, looking at that transcript, the only thing on there was the basic training and the fire academy. It just says that it is up to, I guess, you guys on that one.
Yeah, we'll let you know. All you need to do is just send it, and then we'll review it. Did you order? Can you order your high school transcripts, and then also can you shoot me a confirmation that you ordered it, so I can let our transcript department know that it's on its way?
Let me see. It's been a while since I did. Let me see if there's a way to order the transcripts for high school.
Yeah, there is. You just go to the website of your high school and just put in order transcripts. It should pop up for you.
Okay. Transcripts. So, must be requested in writing. You may come to the registrar's office. Request for official transcripts. Send written request. Fax. Okay, I guess I have to fill out a form and fax it to them, but I don't have a fax machine, or I have to mail it to them. Guess they're living in the Stone Age.
Yeah. Let's try this. Can you go to This is like a third party, and your high school might participate. It's just parchment.com.
Alright, let's see. Parchment.com. Where I would like to order. Okay. I'd like to order my transcripts or credentials. Okay. Order from, let's see. William S. Doesn't look like they're part of that.
Okay. Okay. So I guess you gotta follow the instructions per your high school then. And I had a question. So I know that you applied for the spring, and we have a little bit of time left, but it's a pretty short deadline. The last day that I can get you registered is the 18th. So, but the thing is, we'll need like proof that you ordered your transcripts are on its way, and then obviously ordering your military. It's not going to change like your first semester for registering for classes. So, do you want to shoot still for the spring, or do you want me to defer you to the summer?
If we can do spring, that'd be the best to be able to get the full, as much GI Bill as I can. I think.
Okay. Okay. So order the transcript, and then just take a snapshot of like proof of the whole thing that you ordered it and it's on its way, because then I can send that over to transcript to let them know that yes, you did order them. And then do you have your COE or GI Bill?
Yeah, I could. There's a thing I can click on through the VA to get a letter. The COE I have isn't from a while ago. I don't know if that's still good, or you have to have one that's a current. I don't see a date on it, so I'm not sure.
So send me what you have.
Okay.
For your COE. The thing is, if you have to order your COE like through the military, it could take up to 30 days, and it's definitely not going to get
Oh, okay. There's an online thing where on eBenefits that I can just print out something from them for COE. Let's see.
Why don't you do this? What's the thing that you already have?
Let me look at that letter. Here, let me pull it up real quick and then forward it to you.
Okay, cool.
So question
I'm
with
gonna give that to Jeffrey and see what Jeffrey thinks.
in question, if we get the GI Bill rolling, is there anything I have to pay out of pocket up front, or just it'll go off of what the GI Bill once it arrives here?
It's gonna go off of what the GI Bill, and then whatever supplies are needed for your classes, you'll need to get those.
Okay.
But I think it's kind of minimal. Like, you know, you have a camera already, right?
Yes.
Yeah. It might be something like, you know, a monitor calibration or like a tripod, something like that. But I think it's fairly minimal to my understanding. I would just have to look at the classes that we enroll you in. But yeah, send me, if you can email me while we're on the phone.
Okay,
COE, so I can just take a look at it and give that to Jeff.
All right, this is on its way to you now. So yeah, it's dated 2014, and then I can send you another letter as well as to supplement that to see if that works. But it should be on its way. What's the so outside of for the associates now? What are we looking for potentially if I were to pay out of pocket without any financial aid? What would the cost be for, let's say, 2 semesters or the remaining of it, like each semester, I guess?
That's the thing. That's why I needed to get your military transcripts and your college transcripts, because once that's reviewed, we're going to have a better idea of how much longer it's going to take you and how much time it shaves off that degree and also cost.
I'm just wondering, like on a semester basis, because I know there was a per unit thing that we talked about, and trying to gauge out, is that something that's like do all of it up front, or is it per semester or monthly payments? How does that normally work?
So tuition's $1,041.
Okay.
So let's say that you were taking 2 classes, and so that would be like what, 6,000 or something like that, or close to a little bit more than 6,000.
So 1,000 per unit.
1,041. Yeah. So if you had to like pay out of pocket, for example, on that, you could set up a payment plan. You could do a loan. You could, you know, work on scholarships in addition. So that's what 2 classes would be.
Okay. So 2 classes would be, you said, okay, so the 1,041 is per class or per unit? Or how does that work? Per unit. And each class is what, how many units?
3 units.
3 units. Okay, so it'd be about a little over 3,000 for each class. Okay.
Yeah. So I got your COE. So you know, like on here it says you have 36 months. So was that different from the 30 months that you told me yesterday?
Yeah, that was before That was before I started my medic school stuff. So let me looking at my education here. I can click on and I'll send some of this as my current, basically what I have left.
Okay, cool. Because I'm just gonna try to get as much information over to our FA department for you.
Okay, let's see. Education, eligibility.
While you're doing that, I'm just going to kind of take a look because school started
last week, right?
7th. Yeah, it started on the 7th, but the last day to add is actually the 19th, but I'm only going to be here till the 18th. So obviously I want to get you in and all this, you know, if you decide you want to do this to kind of help you. So I'm just going to check as far as class availability, what's going on with that. And then how many classes, like in order to use your GI Bill, do you have to go full time or can you go part time, or how will that work with your GI Bill?
They want, depending on, you can go part time or full time.
Okay.
They'll cover all the way up to full time. And then that would be That affects how much housing money they give me is based on half-time or full-time status.
Okay.
Okay,
So
let me
one of
see.
your classes does definitely have availability. Okay, let me check the other ones. And you probably want to go part-time since you have your full-time job, right?
I could still work. I could do it from school. I mean, from work as well. So full time wouldn't be as much of an issue since it's online and can do it from remote.
Okay, because going to school full-time is like working full-time, like
Yeah,
hour-wise.
yeah.
Okay.
That's what is it? 4 classes a semester, Monday through Friday, kind of
Yeah,
thing.
that's the maximum. Uh-huh.
And what's considered full time with you guys? Is it 4 classes or 3 classes?
4.
Okay.
4.
All right. I sent you this statement of benefits.
Okay, and this is the most current one that you
Yes,
just
that's
took a picture of?
as of right now. Yeah.
Oh, awesome. Oh, okay, I'm going to send this right over to Jeffrey. So, and then can you, while we're on the phone, can you place that order for the high school ones too, please?
Yeah.
Okay. Because basically, when you send me proof that because school's already started, so if you send me proof, then transcripts knows that it's coming and they won't block you from classes now that we know that you've ordered it, basically.
Okay. So, the thing about the transfer, like I said, I have to print it out, and then I don't have a fax machine, so I'll have to mail it.
Do you, mailing might take a really long time. Are you able to email it to them, or do
It
they
doesn't.
make you mail it?
They make you either it says send run request and payment, or fax your request up to.
Okay, so you should probably fax it, because mailing will take too long.
Yeah, I'm wondering, am I able to fill this out, scan it, and send it to maybe you guys, and have? Are you able to fax it on my behalf?
No, we can't get your information because that's your own personal. You will have to do it.
Oh.
You'll have to print it out and then like fax it over to them. And then I wonder too, when you fax it, or maybe even call them to ask them about because you just tell them that you need school already started and you need your transcripts. Maybe they'll make some kind of special exception to get it to you faster, possibly.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So yeah.
Okay.
So I can print out and do this, but then I know as far as proof wise, I don't know how to send you guys for proof that I sent it.
Well, you'll be faxing it over to them, so maybe the proof of the fax and just like whatever documentation, take a picture of the form, the fax, maybe that would
Okay, just like a receipt.
work. Okay.
Faxing.
So I just sent that over to Jeffrey. That's the big one, is that high school one. Just like I said, I can get you registered and save your spot, and then we can work on getting you prepped for classes. Are you able to do that right now?
Yeah. Let me see.
Okay. And then, so what I'm gonna do then is I'm gonna take the $95
Do-
over the phone.
Do you have the course curriculum thing to for the associates? The kind of how you had sent me with the bachelor's, the list
Yeah, I
of.
can send that to you. And it doesn't matter, just so you know, the first like year or something like that. It's going to be the same core classes as the bachelor's, but I'll send that to you.
Okay.
Yeah. And then, how many classes did you want to do for the spring? Like, I mean, I know that it's kind of coming up quickly here. So, do you feel more comfortable comfortable like starting with 2 to kind of get your feet wet,
Um,
or 3, or
Probably to get the full benefit of the GI is what I'm more concerned about because less out of pocket and more having the
oh, that's right, because you only have 1 year
yeah
to use it. Got it. And you want to try to get as many classes as possible.
yes that way
Okay.
less on the back end
So
as needed.
okay, so it sounds like 4, right?
Uh-huh.
Okay. So let me do this. I am going to take the $95. I'll send you a receipt plus the associate's degree for photography. I'll get you in the classes, and then I'm going to help you with kind of getting you started with everything, okay?
Okay. Can you do me a favor before we go fully forward with the 95 and doing all that? Can you send me the associates thing? That way I can show my wife and make sure she's on. She was with the bachelor's at one point, but I just want to make sure that the changes that she's on board with it before I commit to this completely, so I can talk to the wife.
Yeah. Are you at home with her right now?
No, she'll be home in a couple hours.
Okay. Let me just pull this up and I'll give it to you as we're on the phone.
Okay. Especially if it's going to be coming out of pocket afterwards.
Well, the bachelor's would be more expensive than the associate.
Yeah.
Hopefully she's on board because it will be cheaper.
Well, with
overall.
the bachelor she was on board with before we knew that we have to pay out of pocket because the GI Bill's only so many months.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, she thought the GI Bill was gonna pay for it all, pretty much, or most of
Oh,
the,
yeah.
so it's a little bit
Okay, so I'm
different
sending this
financially.
to you.
Okay.
So I just sent it to your Gmail account. So, why don't you do this then? So I'm going to be here today until 6 o'clock.
Okay.
So as soon as you get the green light, like ASAP, let me
Yeah,
know.
so we can get
Because
this going because of time crunch.
yeah, exactly. And then plus two, I gotta, there's only like a couple spots in a couple of the classes that I looked up so far, so I want to make sure that you get a spot too.
Okay. So if the first semester one is we're thinking is going to be from now, and when does that end? The semester.
Middle of May.
Middle of May. Okay, and then you got the spring semester, right? Or the from the
Summer.
semester 2 is going to be summer. Okay, and then what's the suggested for summer then? Is that
That's the one. So suggested. So basically, this is the whole curriculum. So it might be in a little bit different order, like as
Okay.
far as the classes, depending on what's available. But it's just saying that, like, taking 4 classes in the fall and 4 classes in the spring. Suggested for summer is 2 classes.
oh, gotcha.
That's all. Yeah, but the order might be a little bit different.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Perfect. Let
Just
me.
let me know, and then we'll go from there. Okay.
All right. Sounds good.
Okay.
All
Talk
right.
to you later.
Thank you.
Okay.
Bye.
Thanks. Bye bye.
Whew. Okay, I had to get her off the phone. I don't know how that was gonna work out because I want to do this, but it's gonna cost me a lot of money out of pocket once I get to next year, and I don't want to load myself up with this many classes while trying to work full time just to learn some photography. Yeah, Bill would do principles in technology, visualization, history of photography, got all that, quality of light, workflow, all that stuff. That is good, but then I'm going to start paying out of pocket, and this $1,000 per unit is going to suck next year when I get out of. So when do I have? I have expiration date June 16th. So I would be paying for so let's like she said okay, it would be spring, summer, fall, let's see, then I'd go to spring, but then I got all this undergrad. Oh, that's it. Oh, never mind. That is freaking not associate. Okay, this one's associates. Okay, so we do spring right now, and then summer would be this. And let's say we do this fall, and then spring. All right, 1, 2, 3, 4. So be able to do this right now. One of the following. Okay. Spring would be right now. So when summer comes, I'm going to take this during summer. And then we do fall. And then I have time to do spring and summer. I might be able to knock it all out. Let's see, hold on. Spring. Summer. Fall. Spring. Summer. And then summer comes, then I just pay out of pocket for the remaining courses, which would be one semester.
Calling Academy of Art University. For quality assurance and training purposes, your call may be monitored or recorded.
Hello, this is Gene.
Oh, hi.
Oh, hi.
I was trying to get a hold of Andrea Young. I was just calling her direct line real quick.
Yes, of course. Wait, let me connect you. May I have your name and phone number?
Ray Waliani, and it's 253-370-8222.
Thank you. Please hold. I'll reach out Andrea for you.
Thank you.
Out if Academy of Art University is right for you, schedule a guided virtual info tour today. Our admissions team will guide you through the art and design programs that interest you most and answer any questions you may have about admissions, online courses, campus life, facilities, and more.
Hey,
Hey, I just had a quick question. I was looking at the associates. So, in theory, you said depend on availability. So, is there? You said there's like one class or two classes that are available for the first semester.
so I just looked. Yeah, hold on.
'Cause I was just trying to do a
They were.
timeline of seeing how much I can get for the GI Bill if I were to do spring, summer, fall, and then
Yeah.
spring and summer. I can, depending on when summer starts.
June 20th, or
June-
I think it's June 20th, or right
June
around there.
20th. And I think my thing expires right at June 16th. So trying to see that as long as I start the semester prior to that expiration day, they'll pay for that whole semester. But I think June 20th, if it starts, I don't know if that 16th, like if we did it on the.
But don't you have 1 year though? Like, so would that be spring of next year?
Yeah, so I have. So it expires June of. Wait, that's of 23. Yes. So I would be able to start
okay.
June of 23 would be paid for by then. But then when it comes to summer, if summer starts, you said on the 20th. But if I were
Well, so I was talking about this. I'm not talking about 23 summer. I'm talking about 22 summer.
Yeah.
Starts about June 20th.
Oh, okay. But yeah, next year I'm just seeing next year. Like I can take it all the way. It would cover. I'm trying to see what it would expire. So next year, if the summer of next year started prior to June 20th, prior to June 16th, then they would cover that semester, even though it expires on the 16th. And then I would only have one semester to pay out of pocket if I get all the courses I'm able to get as the schedule is what I'm looking at too. Just trying to see that. Otherwise, it'd be 2 semesters that are out of pocket. Yeah, just trying to sell this to the wife. That's all. But I guess
Yeah.
it.
So when you were looking at your whatever you were looking for the COE, I kind of just went in there and I looked to see what's available. So I know as of now, I know 108 and 115 is available, and then I kind of stopped um, because I think that the LA 147 was not. So I just have to kind of go through the classes to kind of see what's available, and depending on how many, obviously if you wanted to do 4 classes or not.
And then obviously the first class, the freshman symposium, the LA 101. That's all the prereqs for the other ones,
That's
right?
not you. Don't.
Okay.
No, you're not a first-time freshman, so don't worry about that one.
Okay. So basically, okay. So looking at the first semester, the plan would be these 3 courses, and then possibly picking up an extra one if we wanted 4, right?
It's going to be so what you're going to take is what you see on here, but it might be out of a different order, just depending on what's still available
Yeah.
for the spring.
So we may pick something from semester 2 to go that 4. Okay, and then
Possibly, yeah.
okay, and then catch up on the other one when it's available,
Exactly.
as long as it's not a prereq, right?
That's why I was saying.
Okay.
I know that 115 only had 1 available seat left for the spring, so that's why I was saying talk to your wife, figure that out, and let me know as soon as possible so I can save those spots for you.
Okay, and then let's see. Other than that, so then when we get down to the end, okay. Just trying to see real quick, summer of next year, what it may look like. So I'm trying to see when they bill or when the department, you guys will request the money from the VA. If you were to request it before June 16th for the summer tuition, then they would probably pay that. They would pay that.
I have a feeling though. I don't know for sure because we don't have the dates for next summer.
Uh-huh.
But it seems to me that summer it kind of starts around the 20th, 23rd, somewhere around there.
So maybe the
It
19th.
might start earlier. It might. I don't know.
But they request, but then obviously I think you guys would request, as your department would request the money ahead of time from the VA to make sure that's paid before school starts, correct? Or is it something they bill?
Usually before, I would think.
Yeah. Is there a number at the VA guy, the guy in the VA that I can talk to real quick, see when they request that money?
You can email va@academyart.edu.
Okay.
And then just put CC Jim on there too.
Okay.
And you can put me on there too. VA, and then it's the same as mine and Jeffrey's email.
Okay.
Academyart.edu.
Okay, and then
I know that.
let me see. And I just want to say worst case scenario, it gets to the point where I can't afford the last semester or 2 semesters. And obviously if I don't want to do it, but if I had to drop out in the last semester or put it on hold for a semester, is there any downfall other than not getting a degree, or like not like a contract where, hey, now you still owe us for the last semester even though you didn't do it?
No, if you can't figure out a payment plan, or if you need to kind of take like a semester off to kind of work more or whatever, that's okay. We have some people that don't even do summer, and then they just pick up in the following semester to finish your degree. In your case, for example.
Okay. I just don't want to commit to something that I'm not able to do. I'm like, I can get up till summer of next year wouldn't be a problem. But if I unforesee, let's say, hey, now GI Bill won't pay for it. Now I owe $10,000 for this next semester, and it's due here. And I just want to make sure that I'm not like stuck in or trapped into that to where I have to wait a semester.
Depending on how you pay as you go. So if you're taking 2, that's what you're paying for. If you're taking 4, after GI Bill is exhausted, that's what you're paying for.
Okay.
And whatever financial aid doesn't cover. For example,
So I can always go down to the point I get to that summer, and let's say the GI Bill doesn't cover it anymore. I can drop down to just like one class and pay that one class, and then do.
I would drop down to one class.
Uh-huh.
I don't know if the GI Bill.
No, after the GI Bill.
Because
So.
okay, sorry. Yeah, don't drop down to one class because financial aid minimum is two classes to be eligible.
Well, I don't think I'm going to be able to. I don't want to take out student loans, and I don't think any grants would. I make too much money as far as to be able to qualify for anything. Any kind of those financial aid.
Oh, okay. Then you can take one class and then just pay it out of pocket payment plan.
Because let's say if I take one class and I owe 3,000, then I'm being able to do 2,000 this month and 1,000 next month is a lot easier than trying to do 6,000 up front kind of thing.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you could do that as long as you're not using if you don't qualify and you're not using financial aid.
Okay, so if I'm not using GI Bill, not using any financial aid or any of that stuff, I can drop down to at least one course at a time. And for the remaining, semester, if I have to push that out to be able to afford it. Okay.
Do a payment plan, correct?
Yeah.
Pay in cash. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep.
Perfect. Because then I'd be able to. Because if I use the GI Bill, I'd be able to at least get maybe 1, 2, 3. So 4 semesters. So spring, summer, fall, spring, and possibly summer. So I can get at least 4 semesters, possibly 5 semesters covered by the GI Bill out of a total of 6 if I stay full time. Okay. Perfect. Let me, let's see. And then if we do the GI Bill now, I just pay the $95 here. We get registered, start going. I won't have to pay anything out of pocket. To start the classes, you guys will be going through the GI Bill to get them to pay. So whatever balance I owe for school this first semester will be coming from the GI Bill. And then I just got to pay out of pocket that $500 or whatever the expenses, but I already have a camera.
Well, yeah. So that's just kind of average, 563. So if you already have, obviously your camera, it's going to be less than that.
Yeah.
And depending on what, there might be some books. I'm not sure. I have to, obviously see what you're registered for.
Yeah, and the GI Bill will give me up to $1,000 in book stipend to be able to pay for that stuff eventually. I can pay for that up front, but I just want to see how much out of pocket I'm going to be paying this first semester other than the $95, so that way there's no surprises of next month. Hey, you got to pay $2,000 real quick, and then once your GI Bill pays you, we'll give you the reimburse you or that kind of stuff. So
yes, I guess the most that you could probably expect is from that supply cost, and let's just say it's 563, but it's probably not going to be 560.
But tuition's going to be completely GI Bill, even if it takes like a month for them to send the money to you guys.
Yeah, the GI Bill will cover, because, the GI Bill will cover your classes.
Okay, let's go. I'll give you the 95 now.
Okay.
Let me grab my wallet, and then that way we can get the registration on hold, and then I'll just gotta figure out the transcripts for high school.
Yeah, the high school thing is the big one. Yeah.
I'm wondering if I could probably pay for an online fax. Alright, I think I got talked into this shit. Alright, let me see. Session expire. William S. Hart. Transcript registration. Blah, blah.